This podcast is supported by Progressive, a leader in RV insurance. RVs are for sharing adventures with family, friends, and even your pets. So if you bring your cats and dogs along for the ride, you'll want Progressive RV insurance. They protect your cats and dogs like family by offering up to $1,000 in optional coverage for vet bills in case of an RV accident, making it a great companion for the responsible pet owner who loves to travel. See Progressive's other benefits and more when you quote RV insurance at Progressive.com today. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Pet injuries and additional coverage and subject to policy terms.
The Other Side of Midnight.
77 WABC.
Local Spotlight.
Good morrow, everyone. This is The Other Side of Midnight on 77 WABC. I'm Frank Morano. Thank you for listening. It's Friday. We made it. TGIF, a short week for some of us. I can't remember the last week that I only worked 2 days, but here we are, which is good news for you because that means I am going to be as energetic as I possibly can manage to be because I got a couple of days to refresh the old batteries. And it's good news for you because coming up in a moment is the most exciting segment in all of radio, Ask Frank Anything. So if you have questions on absolutely any subject, you can call in at 646-720-0635. That's 1-646-720-0635. And whoever comes up with the best question in the eyes of Elias and Tony, we will gift you a prize from the Other Side of Midnight online store. By the way, I was just perusing the Other Side of Midnight online store, and I've been giving the guys a hard time here, the promotions people, for not updating it with new merchandise because I've given them a lot of ideas in terms of new merchandise, and yet so far there's been zip, zilch, zero, nada. So I was looking through it, and there's still a lot of great stuff on there. There's a lot of great Frank Morano hats, Other Side of Midnight hats, Racket Report T-shirts. There's a cool sweatshirt that kind of is modeled after The Sopranos. It says The Moranos. So I would encourage you, if you have not gotten a gift for the Frank Morano fan in your life, even though the holidays are technically over, at least from a gift-giving perspective, go to the Other Side of Midnight online store, go to WABCRadiostore.com and click on personalities and then Frank Morano. And this is always the danger of me going on here. I went on there and I am just hooked on the vintage WABC merchandise. And I think I have something from every era, but I'm tempted to buy some T-shirts in opposing colors from the ones that I have. So this is the danger of going onto that store because they do have a lot of great stuff. I'm hoping we can add more. So check it out, WABCRadiostore.com. I will be doing a Facebook video this afternoon at some point, probably around 1:30-ish. If you would like to watch that live, I'm sure I'm going to be doing something interesting. And if you don't get your question answered on the radio, you can absolutely get it answered on Facebook. So you could follow me on Facebook at facebook.com/MoranoFan. But for now, let me hear your questions. 646-720-0635.
Beam me up!
To be continued.
That moment when you realize your skincare is actually working. That's Rodan & Fields, the #1 female dermatologist-founded skincare brand in the U.S. Designed by 2 dermatologists who don't just know women's skin, they know how to formulate for it. Rodan & Fields, love what you see. Tap the banner or visit rodanandfields.com/Spotify to get your exclusive welcome offer.
The Other Side of Midnight.
77 WABC.
Local Spotlight.
Good morrow, everyone. This is The Other Side of Midnight on 77 WABC. I'm Frank Morano. Thank you for listening. This Sunday, January 5th, New York City's controversial congestion pricing plan is set to take effect. But in a last-ditch effort New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy and his attorney, Randy Mastro, who also happens to be a former deputy mayor and the fellow that Mayor Adams nominated to be the corporation counsel, they're urging a federal judge to slam the brakes before the tolling begins. Late Tuesday night, Mastro filed an urgent request with U.S. Senior Judge Leo Gordon asking for clarification on a ruling earlier this week. That decision required the MTA and the Federal Highway Administration to provide more details on the plan, particularly why mitigation funds are skewed heavily towards the Bronx and not New Jersey. The ruling also called for further federal review, but stopped short of explicitly blocking the tolls. Murphy's team argues that until this review is completed, the program should be halted. So a hearing is scheduled for this afternoon at 3 p.m., and it's a critical moment for commuters, businesses, and residents in the tri-state area. Several New York City Council members, Joanne Ariola, Vicky Palladino, Bob Holden, they've also called on the MTA to pause implementation until the lawsuits challenging the plan are resolved, adding another layer of pressure. Now, let's talk about why Governor Murphy's plea makes sense and why this Hail Mary effort deserves to succeed. First, the program's economic impact on New Jersey residents is staggering. The base toll of $9 applies during peak hours for passenger vehicles. For commercial vehicles and trucks, the tolls are even steeper. This isn't just an inconvenience, it's a financial gut punch for the thousands of New Jerseyans who commute daily to Manhattan. Many of these workers don't have viable public transit alternatives. They're left with a choice: pay the toll or face hours of additional travel time. And during overnight hours, when the toll drops a couple of bucks, it's not much a consolation for those working irregular shifts like us. Second, congestion pricing risks creating ripple effects of increased traffic and pollution in the communities just outside the toll zone. If drivers try to avoid the fees by detouring through neighborhoods like Hoboken, Jersey City, or even Upper Manhattan, these areas will bear the brunt of additional congestion, and without adequate mitigation plans, those effects could be devastating. Third, let's not ignore the flawed rollout of this plan. Judge Gordon's demand for more transparency about mitigation funding highlights a glaring issue. New Jersey has been largely ignored with this. I hope they're successful this afternoon.
Beam me up.
To be continued.
ChatGPT Plus is free for college students through May. Here's the thing. You've got a lot to do between now and then. Studying for finals, writing papers, trying to keep your life on track. And ChatGPT can help with all of it. It can quiz you for your econ exam, make a study guide from your French notes, plan out your meals and study breaks. It can get really specific on how you like to learn. It can even help you come up with ways to stop procrastinating. So from now until summer break, take advantage of all the ways ChatGPT can make your life easier. Restrictions apply.
The Other Side of Midnight.
77 WABC.
Local Spotlight.
The raid of Jeffrey Maddrey's home, the NYPD's former chief of department and a close ally of Mayor Eric Adams, is yet another troubling chapter for an administration already mired in controversy. For Adams, this is more bad news at a time when his leadership is under scrutiny and his promises to bring stability to New York City's police department are being overshadowed by scandal. Maddrey, once the highest-ranking uniformed officer in the NYPD, was a trusted pick by Adams to oversee the department's day-to-day activities. But his abrupt resignation last month followed explosive allegations of sexual harassment. And then, after he resigned, we heard even more explosive allegations of sexual assault and misuse of overtime pay. And this has raised some serious questions. Now, with federal agents raiding his home and the NYPD officially suspending him, the stakes have only escalated. The allegations against Maddrey are severe. He's accused of sexually assaulting an underling and granting her excessive overtime pay, allegations he denies, claiming the relationship was consensual. Regardless of his defense, the optics are damning. A top cop embroiled in scandal, suspended as federal agents execute search warrants at his home in Queens. This raid isn't an isolated incident. It's part of a broader pattern that has has plagued Adams's administration. Federal prosecutors and investigators have repeatedly targeted the mayor's inner circle, including former NYPD Commissioner Keechant Sewell, the former deputy mayor for public safety, and Adams' senior advisor for public safety. One by one, these hand-picked leaders have been forced to step down amidst probes into their conduct. Madry's downfall is just the latest domino to fall. City Hall is scrambling to distance Adams from Madry. A spokesperson for the mayor called the allegations against Madry deeply disturbing and emphasized that Adams is working closely with Police Commissioner Jessica Tisch as the investigation unfolds. But the damage to Adams's credibility is already done. His administration's repeated entanglements with law enforcement investigations have undermined his image as a competent manager and cast doubt on his judgment in appointing trusted leaders. Adams rose to power on a platform of law and order, promising to restore faith in the NYPD and tackle the city's crime issues. But the hollowing out of his leadership team, all allies who were supposed to help execute his vision, leaves the NYPD's future quite uncertain. And with a federal bribery trial looming for the mayor himself, the political challenges are mounting as Adams gears up for re-election.
Beam me up!
To be continued.
Last week was our first playoff game, and my plaque psoriasis was so itchy under all my gear. Sometimes just thinking about scratching could take me out of the moment. And then my doctor told me I could get clearer skin with a pill called Otezla.
Otezla apremilast is a prescription medicine used to treat adult patients with plaque psoriasis for whom phototherapy or systemic therapy is appropriate. Otezla can help you get clearer skin after just 4 months.
Okay, ready for the next game. Talking to my doctor about a pill was a total game changer.
Don't use Otezla if you're allergic to it. Get medical help right away if you have trouble breathing or swallowing, swelling of the face, lips, tongue, throat, or arms. Severe diarrhea, nausea or vomiting, depression, suicidal thoughts, or weight loss can happen. Tell your doctor if any of these occur and if you have a history of depression or suicidal thoughts. Live in the moment. Ask your doctor about Otezla. Call 1-844-4-OTEZLA or visit Otezla.com for prescribing info about cost, and more.
The Other Side of Midnight.
77 WNBC.
Local Spotlight.
Ever walk down a street named for someone and wonder, who was that? Most of us don't give these street names a second thought, but behind every co-named street sign lies a fascinating story of community, of debate, and often of drama. Take New York City, for example. Naming a street after someone isn't as simple as putting up a sign. It's a process involving local community boards, city councils, and sometimes years of lobbying. That sign above the actual street name isn't just a marker, it's a badge of someone's connection to the area. But getting it there, that's a whole other story. Take Oscar Oberleifer, a legendary photographer of New York's glitzy 60s and 70s culture. His proposed street co-naming at West 98th and Broadway caused quite a stir. Some neighbors called him an irreplaceable local hero, while others labeled him rude and controversial. It took heated debates and a lot of back and forth between his application and everything else before it even got close to a vote. And it's not just about individual personalities. Sometimes it's about values. Should we honor a cultural icon like the Beastie Boys, who didn't do anything for the neighborhood but shaped its cultural identity, or a war hero like Staff Sergeant Jimmy Naughton, whose contributions were unquestionable but got tangled up in the bureaucracy? Even figures as big as Miles Davis or Leonard Bernstein have sparked debates because of their personal complexities. What about those who don't have household names? Often these streets commemorate local unsung heroes, teachers, activists, or even parents of council members. For every sign honoring a Cuomo or a celebrity, there are others like Marie-Andre Bichotte, whose activism profoundly impacted her Flatbush community. Of course, not everyone loves this tradition. Some argue that street poles are getting too crowded, and co-names are confusing for maps and for tourists. I'd argue that these signs are more than just decorations. They're windows into history, our history. They challenge us to ask, why this person? Why here? So next time you're walking down a street named for someone, take a moment to look them up. You might discover a hero, a local legend, or even a bit of controversy. These names remind us that cities are built by people, each with their own stories, triumphs, and flaws. And isn't that what makes a city truly great? Not the bricks or asphalt, but the stories we choose to remember. I think so. I have been to quite a few street naming ceremonies over the years. They're always interesting. And at each one, some I've even spoken at, you learn quite a bit about the person whose name is going on that pole. And I think that's a great thing. Great way to keep someone's legacy alive.
Beam me up.
To be continued.